Firstly, I want to thank you, the LCA team, for inviting me to present tonight. My team, they do extend their apologies. They are not in a space where they can connect online. So hopefully next time we can do maybe a video from their side where they can share their experience. And I also see Stephen Eventon is online. I just want to thank him for connecting us to LCA and giving us the opportunity to talk about our projects, because any opportunity that I have to brag about my team, I'm definitely going to take it. But tonight is more about us sharing knowledge and also hopefully going to inspire you to do maybe something similar in your community. So, okay, you guys already mentioned that we won the award, so I'm going to skip right past that, but we can brag about this too. So the restoration project is located in Cape Town. So for everybody that's not in Cape Town, Durbanville is, this project is located in Greenville Garden Cities in Versantekraal, which is situated in the outskirts of an area called Durbanville. Durbanville is a middle to high income class area with developments rapidly growing into the center. And as you move outside to the center, you get more farmland areas like you can see here. And in these outskirts, you get more of your farm and industrial workers that live in these settlements around the specific area. So the Greenville Garden Cities development is a tripartite agreement between ourselves, City of Cape Town, and the Western Cape government. And by the end of this project, we are envisioning to have 16,000 houses developed in this area. And, excuse me, so 16,000 different financial models of houses, which is called, for example, a BNG, which is our low-cost housing, and this is this specific area, which we've already handed over 2,000 houses to beneficiaries. And other models is, for example, like FLISP and GAP, and that just indicates the different financial brackets that people fall in, and then they can get that specific house. It's very important to note that garden cities don't only focus on providing housing, but they also invest time, money, and a lot of effort into community development and sustainability. So in order for me to tell my story, I really need to set the scene so that you can understand why this project is so unique. It's about the context that we are sitting in, where this development is situated. So we've got our Greenville development, then we've got an informal settlement in this triangle. This is the Versantekraal, or as the community referred to it as Old Versantekraal. And this was just the original social housing from the municipality. We also have a railway station going down here. We've got industrial areas, farming activities, and then also very important, we've got the Mosselbank River that bisects the community. So a large number of the community members are unemployed. They're also uneducated or illiterate. And this results in a sense of worthlessness and a feeling of hopelessness when thinking about the future. So when we want to talk about environmental education or any type of environmental project, this is not going to be the first thing in this community's mind. They're going to think about, where do I get my next meal? Or why should I volunteer when I'm not getting an income? So we're working in an area with very high unemployment. These are people waiting outside actually our container, thinking that we had a contract out, and it was quite a big fight. We get a lot of large fires and results in a lot of devastation at the river. And that's the result of kids starting fires on the river so that the fire trucks can come out, and they want to see the fire trucks. And yeah, so it's just unnecessary damage. This was a vigil that was held. Unfortunately, a lady was murdered, and she was actually buried at the river and then discovered there. Then this is to indicate that we do have a lot of cattle theft around with the neighboring farms, and when they are caught or when they are stolen, they are slaughtered at the river, and we are left with the carcasses at the end and with some of the water pollution. In terms of environmental health concerns, illegal dumping is a massive problem in this community. We've got probably 20 to 25 hotspots for illegal dumping. And so waste consumption is a problem. Then in terms of water pollution, we really want to focus on the water quality of the river, because we do have kids that swim in the river. You can do as much education as you want to. If they want to swim, they're going to swim. But we just want to do awareness campaigns around the type of diseases you can get in the water quality or in the poor water quality. And also some service delivery issues in the community. Then we get a lot of flooding in the areas. And just once again, if there's stray cattle or pigs and they die, they just keep left in the water, and then kids go play maybe just downstream from that, and that can impact their health. This is what it looks like just outside the informal settlement. Members have to share the toilet facilities. As you can see, some of the toilets actually have locks on them. So not even all these toilets are open. And on a day, hundreds of people will use one single toilet. And that's definitely not a healthy situation to live in. We also get random fluids being dumped. And then just also to show this a little boy helping his mom with the laundry, but you can just see what it looks like in terms of runoff and litter. And obviously, because the river is a low point, all of these things do run off to the river. So in this line, we've got all Garden City's land holdings, and which is already subdivided. But from our environmental impact assessment stage, these were the sensitive areas that were identified by a freshwater ecologist and then worked into a conservation management plan. So area 1 indicates the core conservation area, which is the Eastern Tributary of the Mosselbank River, associated buffer zones. Then we've got depression wetlands on area 3, and this will be connected with area 4, which is the terrestrial corridor. But for the sake of this presentation, we're going to focus on the river, because that's what we've been rehabilitating. And once we develop on this side, these areas will also be rehabbed. So the Eastern Tributary of the Mosselbank River is a non-perennial river. But although degraded, the system provides an ecologically significant seasonal wetland habitat that is still hydrologically and geomorphically very much intact, and even more so now with the rehab. The system represents a regionally threatened habitat type and was categorized and is categorized as a critically ecological support area. The system fulfills a number of important functional roles within the catchment, and mostly associated with the erosion control and the dissipation of floodwaters, which is super important for all the rain that we had the last couple of weeks. So this picture specifically was taken about 2 weeks ago. And when I spoke to some of the community members, they told us this is the first time they've ever seen the river this full. And I'm pretty sure if we didn't do the work on what we've had previously, there would have been so much more devastation more downstream. And also this river is also very important in terms of the movement of other fauna and flora. So it does support a wonderful ecosystem. And more specifically, the fact that it drains into the deep river and flows into the very important reed flay and ultimately the ocean. So the impact that we have upstream, I think it really does make a difference downstream. So in terms of rehabilitation, it was based out of the Conservation Management Plan and rolled out with the guidance of Vula Environmental Services, as Renee mentioned. The aim is to improve the function and provide a rehabilitative outline so that it can once again become a movement corridor for both fauna and flora and act as a biofilter for water quality, and also functions as a wetland and a very, hopefully, very biodiverse ecosystem one day. So I'm going to go through all the various stages. So I'll go through what the rehabilitation entailed, and then how did we incorporate incorporate the community's input into this project. Firstly, in terms of preparation, you always say if you plan to fail, you fail, or let's say if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. But with this site, it's completely unique, and we had to adjust this project a couple of times, and we had to learn a lot of lessons. So from our documents, from the Conservation Management Plan and environmental impact assessments and wetland plans, we try to implement something that is conducive to this environment, because it is in an area that's right adjacent to homes, and also a lot of vandalism and external factors. So the site survey was done, and this is what the Mosselbank, or the Eastern Tributary of the Mosselbank, looked like before we started with the rehab. A lot of kikuyu grass. It looked like just a channel of a sluit. We had some aliens and a lot of pollution, as you can see. Via this, before we did the earthworks, there was also search and rescue done. And also we had to get the appropriate approvals before we worked on this site. Then the important part was to include the community. So this is the Vula River team that works on the river, and they're all local residents and also MRCT members. So they also volunteer, but this is the team that actually earns a salary working on the river, and they are gaining all the knowledge that they can from Vula at the moment. And we're hoping that in the future, the local municipality would see value in having a team like this on the river in the long run, because we don't want to lose all the years' work. We've built the basis on this project, and they've got all the knowledge of how this river corridor functions. Then in terms of the earthworks, a lot of work was done to focus on the slopes of the river corridors. So great improvements have been made on the hydrological and ecological functioning of the river, including the associated wetlands within the system. So we dealt with the flood attenuation and stream flow regulation properties, ensuring that the reshaping would really help with those strong waters that came down last week. And so these slopes are now more robust, and making sure that there's less erosion going through if there's more floods coming. So there's just another beautiful picture of what it's looked like, and just incredible what the earthworks done and creating these seep areas and wetland areas. And also, if you think about it, also creates different habitats with different type of species, and it's very exciting to see the actual system functioning the way it should. In terms of vegetation management, I'm so annoyed when I see that purple flowers, the Patterson curse, and the team also hates seeing that because it's so difficult to control. But agricultural weeds is a real big problem, and that's something that is dealt with weekly. So just every season we try to deal with different types of weeds on the river, but also those seeds go set in the soil, So it's very difficult. Every season, a new weed pops up, and then you have to just deal with it as it comes out. And in the beginning, we had some woody alien trees, but that we eradicated. And then as the small like Port Jackson's comes up, we just take it out by hand. Then in terms of revegetating our river corridor, so after the earthworks, it was just bare like this. So we need to plant up the slopes. Firstly, you don't deal with the erosion problem. And then we created these bulk, or they seeded these bulk areas to start building up an ecosystem. We also started with plant propagation to make sure that there is sustainability in terms of the plant growth, so that the team can know that they can catch or collect seed, or and then propagate the seed and then plant it back into the river corridor should there be floods again, because it does sometimes push away some of the plants. And I must say, the river looks quite stunning at the moment. That was actually last year, winter. And we've got all these beautiful flowers, springtime. Obviously, it's a favorite time at the river corridor. And we have people coming with big cameras now to come take photos at the Sea of Daisies, as I call it. And it's so rewarding to see, because that's what you want. Conservation areas are historically always fenced up, and people are kept out of these areas because we need to protect nature. But once again, due to the nature of this community, you can't keep people out, and you need to educate and how can I say it, create awareness to include them into the area and show them the value. And this is really, it's colorful. You can really show the value of what is happening at the river. Then this photo was also taken last week. We've got a lot of birds at the wetland areas, and we've got some antelope coming back. So some good evidence that we are building up our ecosystem. Then there's a red bishop, and we've got some ducks and a lot of snakes. So we've been working really, really well with the team, because there's a real fear for snakes in those community. So we do some snake handling and awareness with them, and they know now that mole snakes are not dangerous, they are friends. And we always just try to educate if there's kids on the river, to tell them that they do have a nasty bite, but they're nice to have they need to be in the river. So this is just some of our little creatures at the river. Then the last phase is that of maintenance, and that's in the phase that we are now for the river corridor. And that includes seed collection and propagation. The weed control, like I said, is daily. Part of our maintenance is also creating awareness and going door to door to speak to people. Then we also continue with water quality monitoring, and this specifically is called a mini SAS. And we also use the iLab or iWater lab testing kit, which is a field water quality testing kit, which is very nice. You can get results immediately. And then litter picking. Sometimes we unfortunately do have smaller illegal dumping events in the river corridor, but not as much as previously, which hopefully we can say that's the educational part that's working. Then we have a lot of site limitations, but I want to keep this positive, a very positive presentation. So in terms of our site limitations, fires, like I said, is a big thing. It's not natural occurring. Sometimes there is some glass on the river corridor, and then these fires start, or the children start them, or we also have people that do drugs on the river, and they just, start a small little fire, and it just spreads with the dry grass. Then in terms of the cattle, we have a lot of stray cattle that, well, it's not stray, they do have a herder, but they just unfortunately take them all over the river, and that causes a lot of erosion, and the goats just eat everything. So we've been fighting really hard for a lot of years to work with law enforcement to actually write a new bylaw to include, because it didn't include cattle and goats, it only included animals such as cats and dogs. So the officers couldn't enforce the bylaw. But now that they've rewritten it, we can have a little bit of help. Just because, I mean, it doesn't help we putting all that effort to rehabilitate the river and the cattle just keeps on walking at the same areas. Then also climate factors such as extreme heat or like the rain does cause site limitations, illegal dumping, and then the biggest thing that I want to focus on is the social limitations. So, for example, yeah, a activity that I can't just assume that they're criminals, but they take the tires, they burn it, and they get the copper wire from it, but they do it on the river corridor. Then the fires are left unattended, and it just spreads like wildfire. Then we've got a youth that started a business a grass business from our river corridor. Although it seems harmless, it's just the principle behind it, and that it's, there needs to be consequences for actions. You can't just do and take whatever you want to. This gentleman, he took belladonna bulbs out of the ground. It is poisonous, so I don't know what he wanted to use it for, but we have a lot of occasions where we have found muti at the river. And so another aspect is the cultural side. A lot of rituals is performed at the river that actually leads to pollution as well. Then we do have incidents of people killing snakes. Once again, that's just a fear, or some of the kids are just being completely naughty. And every chance that we do get and we catch them, they do, we make sure we make it an educational talk then to speak to them as to why that is wrong. Then this gentleman, we caught illegal dumping right at the river, and the team said, not on our river, and they forced him to pick it up, and we also found out his address and reported him to law enforcement. So having consequences for the actions is very important, and having law enforcement there is crucial to hand out fines. So this is why environmental education is so important, because we need to address all those. There's already a lot of social ills in the community, and those social ills of infiltrating into what we're trying to do in this project. So a part of our conditions of approval was the fact that we needed to do an environmental education program. And their suggestion was we can just do flyers here and there, and then Neer said, no, that's not going to work. We need a proper program. So we got a consultant, Mr. Andrew Bennett, and he gave us a framework for environmental collaborative, how we can incorporate this into the community. So in 2017, Elizabeth Mons, she got the first house in Greenville, and she was my first point of call of identifying a community member in the community to help us identify more people that are interested in environmental projects. And Elizabeth already started with cleanups in the street, and she was just the easy person to start working with, as she already had a passion for the environment. Then once they were identified, we got funding from Nature Connect, a small grant, and together with Garden Cities, they were able to resource us with equipment and a container and everything, and training that we needed to start this team. So we started with 5 members in the MRCT, and it grew to a whopping 24 members since last year. And we were able to, in terms of us to have long-term sustainability in our project, we knew we had to register as a nonprofit. And that's what we did in 2021. So the directors of the nonprofit is myself, we've got Ms. Mons, Buseka and Christine. We are the board members. And then we've got all our beautiful volunteers that are the registered members of our nonprofit. So we've got a constitution, a code of conduct, and a bank account so that we can make sure that the MRCT is just going to grow to amazing things. So our vision is to ensure well-being in our community and environment through environmental education and conservation of the Mosselbank River. Our goals is to ensure that the rehabilitation efforts are not lost by making sure that the maintenance continues. So maintenance such as the weeding, the littering, the seed collection, and making sure those activities continue. And also to make sure that the environmental education continues. We also want to continue to build relationships with our nonprofits and local businesses in the community. So those are our goals as a nonprofit. So on top of the basic services of weeding, collecting seeds and all those type of things and monitoring, we also help identify reasons and sources for the pollution in the local community. And then we go back to the community and we ask them, okay, what do you think are the solutions to these pollution problems? Because so many times we've got people coming into the community and they've got this wonderful project that they want to implement, but they never engage with the community. And that's where your project is going to fail because you're coming with your vision without knowing what the community's vision is. So going back to the community and asking them, what do you think are the solutions? And then you tell them, you're the ones that need to implement these solutions, and the MRCT will then assist them. We also continue to include the residents of the area, troubled teens, local nonprofits, school churches, and businesses in our program. Then we also implement community solutions and projects. This was, for example, for World Plastic Free July. We did a little drive where a local lady made material handbags for us and the kids painted them. We also host practical demonstrations and workshops. So it's very important to do a hands-on demonstration, like hands-on planting of the trees and plants, as that we could really, so that people can understand the hard work that it takes to actually run a project like this and not just hand out flyers every time. Very important is also to build our relationships with the various departments in the city of Cape Town. And for example, with solid waste, law enforcement, the environmental department, parks department, because we really do want to work with our local municipalities. And because we assist them by fulfilling some of their functions. For example, this is a stormwater outlet into the river corridor. And the team cleared this whole area, knowing how important this channel is to keep clean for when the stormwater comes down there. Then also very important, we help community, and we, how can I say, I'm a firm believer of not just doing everything for everybody. So we need to empower people to do things themselves. So we show them the ways and means how to report transgressions to the city of Cape Town. We call it here a C3, and it's just a platform that local residents can use to report things that are faulty, for example, street lights or block stormwater drain. But here specifically it was to report somebody that illegal dumped. And then also continuing to collect data so that we can make better decisions for the future. In terms of our impact in numbers, like I said, we grew from 5 to 24 people, and we've hosted 45, even plus more cleanups. We've only started collecting data from 2019 because we wanted to show people what our impact was. And we've collected about 8.2 tons, which were completely diverted from our land or from the river. And we are trying our best now to also divert most of the waste from landfills by making sure that we separate our waste to be recycled and or to be reused. So before we can build capacity in and educate the community, we need to build capacity in our own team. And therefore, training our own team members are very important. There's first aid, firefighting, also swimming lessons, and also having workshops for, this was on World Wetlands Day. So, the Department of Water Sanitation came out and gave us a presentation. And then also very important to mention that 3 of our members are now on a learnership with Nature Connect, where they are getting trained in the conservation principles, which is very exciting. And the things that they're learning is incredible. And 6 years ago, this would have never been possible. So it's really exciting to see that we're getting people in the community getting the right training in conservation. In terms of our projects, so now that we have trained our own team members, because they're the custodians of the river and this project, now we need to go back into the community. So how do we, what projects are we running to inform the community of the river and how they can engage actively? So firstly, it's our community cleanups. We try to host one every month, but sometimes we get busy with all the environmental events. But yeah, so once a month community cleanups. At these cleanups, we make sure to give education about separation of the waste. So we do, there's 3 different colors of bags. So we've got the yellow, the green, and the blue. So the yellow are all the recyclables that goes to our local recycling lady in the community, LW Recycling and Trade. And then the blue bags that goes to City of Cape Town and then to the landfills. And the green bags is called the bag that builds. And those are all the non-recyclable plastics that are made into a resin and then reused in building blocks. So building blocks that we can use to build these houses. So we're really trying, even at our cleanups, to get 0 waste to landfill with our cleanups. This is just LW Recycling Trades team, and they help us with the recycling. So we work really closely with them as well. Then in terms of workshops, this is another way that we engage with our community. These are our beautiful seniors club, and they are very excited because every year, September, they just want to be at the river and go look at the beautiful flowers. And here we engaging with for Santa Claus Center of Development. They wanted to know a little bit more about pollution and how they can deal with the problem from their angle. And this is a workshop where we did an upcycling workshop for the ladies on Women's Day. And we just showed them how to take waste and make something beautiful, and you can start a business out of it. So definitely using different angles because people have different interests. Not everybody wants to do a cleanup, but they might want to make a bag. In the door-to-door campaigns, sometimes it's difficult to do the flyers because firstly, not everybody maybe understand only one language. So then when you do flyers, you need to try and do 2 or 3 languages. For example, here we will have to do Xhosa and Afrikaans. But then you don't want to leave everybody else, so you want to make it English, and then you print paper again, that becomes waste. So it's a really catch-22 situation, but it really helps us to engage with people one-on-one, and so that they can see the emotion behind what we're trying to do and how we beg them to please not dump, or at least help us report people that dump, that we can stop the cycle of us literally picking up the one day and then there's dumping the next, because it's just not effective. But we try, we have to do something, and that's just one of the ways. Then we also work a lot with the library, the school holiday programs. So we'll do any type of topic. Last year it was over Christmas. So we said, okay, let's do Christmas ornaments from recyclable materials. Or for example, the seeds of hope. We let the kids plant little seeds. And while we're planting the seeds, we just explain to them how seed germination work. So any type of topic that we can incorporate over school holiday program, as long as they get a lollipop afterwards, the kids are happy. Then school engagements, we're really lucky. Sometimes it's difficult with schools. We don't always fall into their curriculum, or it's not always at the right time. And so it's not always easy to engage with the teachers on when we can actually come in and assist with their programs. And as this is not my day job and after hours, it's also people work during the day. So it's sometimes difficult to get a hold of the children. So we rather focus on the school holiday programs. Yeah, specifically, this is the new for Santa Cruz Primary, and this the head of the school is she really wants the kids to understand, because their school is right opposite their school is right opposite the river. They want the kids to be really active in what's happening at the river. So they took their class assignment outdoors, and we did a mini SAS with them, so they were able to see the little creatures in the water. And also to do a cleanup. And this was also with them where we helped them with a food garden at their school for Youth Day last year. In terms of our other environmental events, tree planting events, we do this every year. It's such a big success, and we are always thankful when the City of Cape Town donates trees for our events. And this is a perfect opportunity for us to explain to the kids that you are just like the tree, and you need water and food to grow, just like the tree needs water and food to grow. And then we make movements and we just make it fun. So interactive. Then for World Wetlands Day, we do this activity where we put pollutions in different, fake pollutions in different bottles of like plastic bottles, and then we tell the story of water. So where does water start? Sometimes kids just think water comes out of the tap, but actually it comes from the mountains. And then we ask, would you drink the water in the mountain? And then they would say, no, we can't drink the water. It's like, no, you can actually drink it. And then you explain as the water go through the industrial area, and there's oil and all those type of things. Then the kids come and drop all those pollutions in the water. And then we come to the wetland part, and then we say, okay, throw all that water over the wetland, which is a sponge. And then we explain to them that the wetland is like the sponge, and it takes out all the bad things out of the water. So we really try to do practical demonstrations, and also make it fun. World Environmental Day, we also try to do cleanups with companies. This is, for example, Netafim. They bring their team to do the World Environmental Day with us, which really helps us again to network further and to spread the word of what the team does. And so it's really cool that this is the second time they do a cleanup with us. And it's really cool. And we really hope again they'll reach out to other people to come into Greenville. Then we've got World Water Day. The day you ever want to come and visit us, you'll see that the kids love to dance. So we've got music always at our cleanups or somewhere. So this was specifically, we had an Eco Fun Day with the City of Cape Town and other stakeholders, and that is Manzi, the mascot for water. And they just come out and they dance and they talk about the importance of saving water and things like that. So we try to cover any topic that is necessary. Then the trash and show, the first one we had this year, we worked really, really hard on this. And this was for us to think about a different angle to deal with waste. Yes, we can have a cleanup, but how can we make this fun and for people to actually see all the waste around them? So the idea was for participants to go out to the community, pick up the litter, and then make something, a dress from the litter that they got. And these were our winners for our show, and it was quite incredible to see what people can come up with. Another creative way. Then almost done, wrapping up. This was our adopted space project. So I was tired of picking up nappies every weekend. And I said, okay, no, team, we need to do something. And so this was an area adjacent to the river. So there's just dumping all over this area. And we said, we spoke to the environmental department at the City of Cape Town, and we said, listen, it's either this dumping spot or we can do something beautiful. And then we transformed it into the food garden. And at the moment, it looks a little bit overgrown with all the rain that we had with weeds. And we're hoping on Mandela Day, we're getting some support and hands to actually redo our garden and plant some new fruits and veg. And surprisingly, there's no dumping at that space. So I really do think it's done what it intended, and I'm really looking forward to see what the space can become in the future. Same with this tire garden. It was this terrible dumping every weekend, and we just couldn't handle it anymore. And we placed the tires and then put some herbs in there. In this project can be possible without collaboration. We would be nowhere without these people. Somewhere, somebody did something for us, whether it was a donation, because that's what we rely on. We function on donations. And it's not always nice to beg, but I think over the last 6 years, the MRCT has really built a brand of, we really do want to do good and give back to the community. And the proof is in the pudding. Like I said, we can prove that we've been doing that the last few years. And these people, companies, individuals, they've been helping us out a lot. And now we can put a new one there as well. So really excited to put LCA's logo there. And yes, and if you want to engage with us, maybe do a program or just come out and speak to the children or even to the seniors club, please let us know. There's my contact details. And if I'm not going to stop talking now, I'm going to talk forever and we won't have chances for questions. Thank you for listening to me. And I really hope I inspired you. And please go follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And we're also on WhatsApp if you need to chat to us. Thank you.
Danielle, thank you very much. I don't know if you've noticed, I've got a slightly different uniform to the one that I had earlier. And I just wanted to say, this is my trash and outfit that I wore when I was at the Green Buildings Association. It's an old dog food bag. I don't know, it's not showing properly with the camera.
I'm taking a photo.
I thought I would get into the spirit, as you said. I hope you've inspired us. You definitely have. I must say, all of those slides, like every time I look at another thing, and wow, it's another thing that you're doing, another thing you're doing. There's like only so many days in the year, and you seem to be busy with everyone, whether it's Water Day or Environment Day or Wetland Day or Mother's Day or Kids Day. So yeah, I'm really, really, really impressed with what you guys have done.
Thanks,
and
Martin.
I think you can be so proud of what you have done. think it's like so multifaceted. There's so many things you spoke about: the people's lives, the environment, the species. There's like multifaceted, so many different things. So yeah, I'm sure there's going to be some people with some questions. So please, guys, let's ask Danielle some questions. I'm sure we've got lots to learn. Please don't feel shy. Go to the bottom of your screen and press the reaction tools and put your hands up. I see Stephen Leviton's hand is up. Let me quickly unmute him. There we are. Stephen, I'm asking you to unmute. Perfect.
Yes.
Hi, Stephen.
I'm not sure if everybody. Hi, Danielle. I've had the pleasure of working closely with Danielle over many years, because I sit with her on the Greenville Garden City and Environmental Advisory Committee. And when we have our meetings, she does a mini presentation. So I've seen the growth over the time. And it was that growth and that wonderful achievement to see a dumping ground turned into a fruit and veg garden that led me to recommend to Johan that she should come and present. And while we didn't have a huge crowd tonight, I do think that it may be an idea for the LCA to perhaps send out an email to the very many people who do come on these talks to visit the YouTube site and to watch the talk, because it is really inspiring. One of the core impact areas of the LCA is edu conservation, and they are rolling out we are rolling out a program in a number of African countries to educate children at grassroots level, at pre-primary and primary school level. And this is precisely what Danielle's doing. And it's a wonderful effort. And I know Ruan's on, and I know Johan is on, and I would encourage them, and Maret's on, I would encourage them to perhaps see whether what Danielle has done on the education side can't be shared with those programs that are functioning in other African countries, because I think it's quite important to spread the gospel, as it were. So, but thank you very much, Danielle. I've really enjoyed seeing it from start to finish, even though I have watched it along the way. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen.
Thanks, Stephen, for making the recommendation for this this talk. And yeah, we really have enjoyed it and learned and been inspired. So thanks again. Well done, Danielle. Are there any other people who want to talk? Please just go to the reaction tools and put your hand up and we will get you. I see Johan's wanting to ask a question, I hope.
I would just like to give them the opportunity to brag properly. Can they just share with us exactly what the award was for?
Renee, me or you?
That's up to you.
Well, it was for our Northridge Coastal Estate Sustainable Precinct Green Building Council awarded development. And I think it being the first in Africa, I think was part of the facilitation to get it up and running and actually winning the prize. So a lot of hard work from both of us. And yeah, Danielle is definitely the positive side. I'm more the pessimist, she's more the optimist. So we work together like a North and South Pole and a magnet. That works well.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. That talk is already also loaded on the YouTube channel. So if you want to know more about that project, please head over there. And I do agree with Stephen. Unfortunately, we're in the middle of the university holidays. So the normal group of students that would have been here, unfortunately, not in tonight, but we will make sure that they see the talk.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm sure Cheryl Ogilvie would have loved to be in on this evening's talk, and I'm sure linked with ideas. She does a lot of work down in Nduma with community and with schools, etc. So I'm sure we'll definitely be making her watch the YouTube video And I think as soon as the video is out, everybody share it with your friends, because that's the amazing thing. We can make this go viral. So that's awesome. I've got a couple of questions of my own, if I can. I was waiting for everyone else to ask, but I just wanted to, you mentioned something about rewriting the bylaws. I must say that sounds like a terrible headache to me. Must have been quite a process. Maybe if you can just tell us a little bit more about that and how you managed to get your success, how long it took, and did you have to have lawyers and all kinds of people, or was it something you did? I'm just interested.
I'm going to shoot this one to Renier because I talked too much already.
Yes, I think partially we put a lot of pressure on the city to get involved with the removal of the cattle and goats, because the damage that they caused in the river corridor every time we did rehab work was this so extensive that it felt like we were taking 2 steps forward and 50 steps back every time. And I think with the pressure that we applied to the city, I think they became as frustrated in terms of not being able to put their law enforcement officers and actually deal with this, the service requests that we were putting through. We also started involving senior management members at the city, like Director Roberts, and these were guys that were acknowledged that there was a shortcoming with their bylaws, because the bylaw only dealt with domestic animals, and the opportunities or the cases where the city had to address cattle and goats, even along N2 corridor and other major corridors, it was problematic because the city could get sued because they didn't have the necessary teeth in terms of the bylaw to actually address it. And I think it got to boiling point where they got very frustrated by it, and they yeah, I was a bit naughty. I whispered in someone's senior ear as well. My brother is senior in the city, so I whispered in his ear as well. And they managed to write a new bylaw to actually include the cattle, goats, and be a bit more specific and give the law enforcement officers the teeth to actually address it. So, yeah,
There's even alpacas included.
Alpacas.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the other thing that you mentioned in terms of the law enforcement, do you have your own employed security that Garden City has to employ to maintain this, or is it a work with the local police and other law enforcement in the area?
So as soon as we go in public domain, we must be very careful. We can only protect our own infrastructure. So houses that's in the process of being built, we can protect, and infrastructure being built. But when it's something like the river corridor, because it's a vesting property, we have to transfer it right at the beginning of the project, and it becomes municipal property. So from a legal perspective, we're not allowed to act on public land and enforcing and arresting people and issuing fines. That's why the city has bylaws and the necessary backup and systems to deal with it, protocol to deal with it. So we provide support now and again. We would even provide support like loading animals and taking them to the pound. And but we have to do it in conjunction with the city, who have got the authority to do so.
I know in some of the cities in Joburg, and I'm sure all over the country, they have those SIDS. I think it's a CRDS. So I'm not too sure if there's such a thing over the corridor, or is that not possible to do?
It would be very difficult to do it. Unfortunately, it's normally in affluent areas where you can do it, because as a community improvement district, it's also called the special rated area. Is ring fenced, and it works by the fact that you draw money from the rates and taxes. So there's an additional levy put on rates and taxes, and that goes to the SID, and the SID then fulfills additional functions, whether policing, whether cleaning, improvements. So doing it in an area which is already hamstrung with collection of just normal municipal accounts, I think it would be a stretch too far. This is unfortunately one of those areas where you have to rely on it being cross-subsidized from other areas.
Yeah, but you guys seem to be making great progress and being very successful. So, I mean, those sort of before and after photos of what it looked like. And I mean, I think you said it was in winter, and I guess that's because you got a lot of your rain in winter, but I mean, it looked really amazing and lush. And so, yeah, I mean,
I just wanted to add, in terms of security, it's really important to have those key people. And Elizabeth, she has got a house literally opposite where our container is based, our little home. And believe you me, she sees everything. So it really helps to have somebody that has an eye. So that's basically our security, is everybody else's eyes and ears, and we just post it in the group and then we try and act. But yeah, SAPs, law enforcement, they do know about us. I don't know if that's the best thing, but yeah.
We have been blocked on their cell phones.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, just sort of stepping back, and there's so many common threads that have been in other talks as well, in terms of how to engage with communities, and the point you made about asking the community their opinions and how they would like to solve the problem, their vision and their solutions. I mean, those are common things that we've heard through talks in other areas within Africa. And I think it's something that we all need to remember and learn, and be humble in our approach to make a difference.
Yeah, we have UWC students, University of Western Cape. They come out to do projects, and it's every time short term, like 3 to 6 months. And every 6 months, new students come in. You have to do the cycle all over again, explain what you're doing in the community. Then they want to get involved, but then they leave after 6 months. And it's got a terrible impact, especially when it comes to when you deal with ECD, so the small schools. So they start a program and then they leave. And then I start something else again, and then they leave. And so we've actually spoken to them and said, like, it's more damaging to do that, bringing in new students every time, because sometimes some of these stories have trauma attached to it. So we're not just talking about the environment, it's also sometimes trauma attached. And then people really live the trauma. And so they really need to, when projects are implemented in these type of communities, you need to ensure you work with the right people, but also not with your own needs.
Renier, you got your hand up?
Yeah, I think there's so many other spin-offs, and I don't want to steal the MRCT thunder. I think this is an amazing project, but we've got something like the ephemeral pan in Sunningdale, and the spin-offs from that was actually also quite phenomenal. It's a fairly unique pan that not even, or very few of the specialists could give us input in terms of how to deal with the rehabilitation of the pan, how to actually the ongoing operational aspects of it. So what we did is we took all the fines that out of that, it's called the Environmental Liaison Committee, and all the fines that issued to builders and stuff we use towards projects like this, where we give students a stipend, and they undertake projects where they actually, each student takes a unique aspect of the pan and actually researches it. And ultimately, when you do, 20 of these research projects, you end up with almost a new Bible, a new guideline in how to deal with these pans. So
I was about to say, you guys could write a textbook. I think I said it at your last talk. You guys need to start publishing these things and teaching everybody of how to do them.
Well, we were waiting for a writer like you.
Just another point. I mean, before the talk, I was on another webinar through work on the Regenerative Collaborative, and it was on net zero waste. So also very topical. And when I saw all your recycling and all your initiatives, I mean, there was a person there talking from the waterfront and all of the things that they're doing and whatever. And I think you guys can be proud, because there's so many things that you guys are doing that are the same. And I mean, that's a massive corporation business. I think they said 24 million visitors in a year. It's on a whole different level, but you guys are doing the same thing, and it's in the community and it's changing people's lives. So well done.
Thank you. That's all we want.
We had one of the spin-offs that came from the Mosselbank team, and I think if Danielle didn't do this project, we wouldn't actually have met the guys from CRDC, and they have become core to us in terms of how we're looking at recycling non-recyclable plastics, that we can use it in our concrete products. So all our curbs, we're looking at doing it in paving, we're looking at doing it in our Benex block, which we'll use for BNG housing. So, you know, when you start using all those things and you repurpose it in such a manner, I mean, ultimately you can have a massive impact. Yeah. So we're super excited about all the new links we're forming. And every time you speak to someone, something new comes out of it.
Mm.
I wanted to give a last opportunity. I've been asking a few questions. If anyone else is wanting to ask any more questions, or I mean, I think we've all felt inspired by what you guys have shared, and I trust that this video will go far and wide. Awesome. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.